Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the City of Independence, I welcome each of you in attendance, as well as those of you who are watching on City 7, to the August 14th meeting of the Independence Planning Commission. Before we begin our meeting, let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you who are unfamiliar with our meetings, it's the responsibility of this commission to hold public hearings and make recommendations to the Independent City Council on matters related to zoning and land use changes within the city. We also consider and make decisions on plats, special use permits, and other issues, as well as changes in codes and policies that relate to city planning. Our procedure for each case tonight will be as follows. First, the applicant will be recognized to speak on behalf of their case, followed by anyone else in attendance that wishes to speak in favor of the matter. Second, those who are in opposition or who have questions regarding the case will be recognized to speak. Then, if there was opposition or questions from the public, the applicant will be allowed a rebuttal period to address those concerns or issues. Once the applicant is finished, the chair will declare the public hearing portion of the case closed, and further comment from the public will not be recognized. At that point, the commissioners will have the opportunity to discuss the merits of the case with one another, and during the discussion, the commission reserves the right to ask questions from all parties concerned. And then finally, the commission will render a decision in the case. Because this is the only public hearing of the cases on the agenda tonight, all those who wish to speak will be heard. All comments and questions should be addressed to the chair and not directly to the applicant or the staff. The chair also requests that statements be kept brief and on point. Please do not ramble. Or if a statement has already been made by a previous speaker, please do not repeat it, but simply rise and state your agreement with the matter. So now, to expedite tonight's meetings, the chair asks that everyone who wishes to testify or thinks that they may testify, please stand now to be sworn in. Those standing, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth before this commission? If so, please answer, I do. Thank you. You may be seated. Are there any changes to the agenda today?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
in order of presentations, I move that case number 18-200-06 be presented as case number 1, followed then by case number 818-200-05.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Would you take the roll, please?
Sorry, is this working? Yeah, just go ahead and you can do it by voice vote if you want to.
Okay.
You don't need to do that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. It's passed. So today, our first case will be case number 18-200-06, special use permit for 13801 East 35th Street Court South. Would the city please give the report?
Real quick, the second of that motion on the
Virginia?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Case 18. Can you hear me?
I can hear you when you do that.
Is that better?
That's better, I think, yes.
Okay. Case 18200-02. Pedro Ariel Vargas de la Rosa requests approval of a special use permit to operate a used sales
I think it's coming
business
through.
at 13801 East 35th Street, Court South. So, wanted to make those up. Okay. It's not gonna shift with that, so I'm gonna use my finger here.
I just had my 75th birthday, August the 8th.
Give us 1 second, sorry.
This is the vicinity map. This is located on 35th Street, roughly on the south side of 35th, just east of, or west of the railroad tracks. If you know where the entrance to the retail at Cargo Largo is, it'd be opposite that. In the vicinity, you have C2 zoning to the north, excuse me, and to the west, and then small industrial operations to the east, and multifamily to the south, or R30 PUD. So you have some underutilized industrial properties there on the east. You can see the Cargo Largo parking lot just north of 35th Street here. Some other retail uses to the west, and then fourplexes on the dead-end cul-de-sacs coming off 35th Street there. This is the proposed, an elementary version anyway, of the proposed plan. The former retail site consists of a large barn-like building, a large paved parking and driving surface covering nearly the entire northern portion of the property, and then in the rear, a green space surrounded by a 6-foot-tall chain-link fence abutting the multifamily properties to the south. Although there is little green space on the northern portion of the property, planting areas are available in the right-of-way along East 39th Street South, and additionally could be provided by saw-cutting portions of pavement contiguous to the curb along the west side of 39th Street Court South and abutting the east side of the building. The green area at the rear of the property should be landscaped. It should be a landscape buffer as required per code. The applicant has submitted this parking and site plan. The parking area appears to be in good condition for a large inventory and enough employee parking and the standard handicap spaces needed. However, the submitted drawing does not show the plantings per code along the northern parking lot perimeter, and the plan depicts end caps that are much smaller than what I described that would provide a planting area there on the east side, and also keep cars from being too close to projecting, their bumpers too close to the right-of-way or over the curb into the right-of-way on that east side. A particular concern with staff is that, again, that these saw-cut areas were too small to keep the parked cars at a sufficient distance from the street. These needed modifications to the applicant's parking and landscaping plan should be required if approval of the SUP for a used car lot is granted. However, staff is recommending denial of the application. The proposal does not conform to the comprehensive plan used car lot would be out of character with the existing neighborhood. The use is not only incompatible with nearby residential uses, but with the small-scale retail and service uses in the nearby strip malls to the east and the west. Real quickly, I'll go through the neighborhood here. There we go. Okay, this is looking directly, I'm standing on the sidewalk on the south side of 39th Street, looking directly southwest at the building. And this is the neighbor that lies real close to the west there. This is looking westward toward the public library and toward residential and the factory to the west. This is looking back east at the Cargo Largo, adjacent small across the street, small industrial uses that line the railroad track just west of Nolan Road. This shows the existing sign frame that's still there and some of the plantings that recently have already been put in along the right-of-way. And these are the couple of the saw cut areas that have been created so far, but would not be sufficient as I described. This is the green area out in the rear on the south side where they could provide the needed planting as required by the code for buffering from a residential use. And then this is just looking back up 35th Court South, back toward 35th Street up the hill along the east side of the building. Staff recommends denial of this application. However, if approved, the following conditions should be met. A revised landscaping parking lot plan shall be submitted showing plantings per code along the north parking lot perimeter and depicted in caps and in the rear residential buffer. Number 2, ADA parking spaces shall be provided that meet current city and national standards for markings and signage. Number 3, the non-conforming sign partially located in the East 39th Street right-of-way shall be removed. And number 4, all improvements shall be completed prior to the city license being approved for the business. And I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brian. Does anybody on the commission have questions of Brian? Okay, if not, I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward. And when you first speak, please give your name and address, and just communicate a little bit to us about what your plans are.
My name is Salahuddin Abdulwali. My address is 18604 East 20th Court South, Independence, Missouri.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And just give us a brief description. I know it's in general what you want to do, but if you just tell us how you came to pick this property. And
Well, my partners and I have been in business for since approximately 2014 in another location, very successful. You know, once you get to a certain point when you're doing business, you begin to see the bigger perspective and escalating out of that small property into a bigger property. The property had been sitting, this property here on Court South, blighted property. People are really tired of blighted properties where different kind of criminal activities can transpire and take place. And so we said, well, this would be a good idea to look at this, you know, from a business perspective and changing the conditions, putting a new face in the community, you know, a fresh breath of life. You have residents who would probably appreciate being able to just walk directly across the street, and perhaps being able to lease a vehicle, or at least building relations with the community. My whole life has been spent driven on uplifting the community as a community advocate and a mentor, and understanding some of the outcries of the community.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone have questions for the
I
applicant?
do.
Yes, ma'am.
What condition is that building in? What is the integrity of that building presently?
Well, currently, to answer the question to the best of my ability, we've been putting money into the property to uplift it. Obviously, the prop that was shown to the board this evening didn't give us the best service because it's incomplete, the process, but it's manageable, and it's a piece of property that can be revitalized, which will represent the future of that area. You talk about bringing a lot of taxes to the economics of this city in Independence, which I live in. I've been living in Independence for quite some time. In fact, my wife and my children, we moved away to Grandview. We hated it. It's no slight on the city of Grandview. It was very uncomfortable. We're back at home, and so we want to work in conjunction with all who are inspired or looking forward to improving the conditions on how we live as a people.
Your intentions are to utilize that building?
Our intentions are to utilize that building and its property for car services, for car auto sales, and perhaps, at some point we could probably do some extended things in improving relations in the community. But those are the conversations that need to be had in a parking lot.
The application indicate that this is an application for vehicle sales. I noted that you stated sales and lease. Which is it?
It's an application for sales. When I mentioned lease, I was kind of looking ahead in the near future after being established that would be a possibility. For clarity, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions?
Do you have any thoughts on working on vehicles there, or only selling vehicles?
If I may, I'd like to invite my partner up to conclude any final questions, if that would be acceptable.
Yes. Just have him give his name and address for the record, please.
Thank you so much.
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Anthony Romero. I live on 6720 Asney Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, C4126.
He said Anthony Ramirez.
Ramirez.
Okay. Thank you, Anthony.
What was the question, sir?
The question was what the intentions are, if you're going to actually be repairing automobiles or just selling them as is.
Just selling the car. We've been in business in Kansas City, in Independence, Missouri, 1418 West 23rd Street. The name to play is Midwest Car Company. We've been there almost for 4 years. But we got contract for use, mechanic repair, but we're not going to do anything there. Just selling car.
Okay. Will you be storing cars in that
No, sir.
facility?
Just selling car. We got contract with other mechanic shop. They do everything for us, like fixing the car, transmissions and engines, and also to clean the car. We're not going to do nothing there.
Okay.
Just selling the car.
Did that answer your question, Tina? Thank you, sir.
Right.
Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of this case? Okay, is there anyone here who is against or who has questions? Seeing no movement in the crowd to gain the podium, I declare the public hearing portion of this case closed. And would ask the commissioners to comment or ask city questions or sit there in silence?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
for the life of me, I cannot understand why we've been blessed with such a proliferation of used car sales operations in Independence. Maybe you can help me out.
It's an enigma to me, sir. I do not know why. But I do have one question of the city. Is the building, there were some questions about the building, and I realize they're not particularly going to use it. But if memory serves, that building's been sitting there empty for a long time. Did anybody from the city look at the building, at least from the outside? Closely.
All I can tell you is what I heard in a recent meeting that I know one of the fire protection individuals at our meeting was concerned about the condition of the building. Of course, is that your only question, or they have to have, of course, a building for this use? You have to have a 400 square foot building. That does satisfy that.
If we did approve this with the recommendations and they proceed, can they just go ahead and proceed without addressing the building, or are you guys going to look at the building too?
I don't know what improvements they would be seeking internally, if it would trigger a building permit or not. However, upon applying for a new business license, the fire department does go out on each new business license and inspect the building for fire safety issues. So at that point, if there were any issues that were noted through that, they would hold the business license approval until they were taken care of. You know, times like that, it's fire extinguishers not being present, exit signs not being present, stuff like that, that are actually fire code issues. Now, as far as the condition of the building, again, that really depends on if what they're doing would trigger a building permit or not. And even if it did trigger a building permit, if the value of those improvements, they have to be over 50% of the value of the assessed value of the building before any of our requirements would kick in.
Okay. All right. Are there any more questions
Yes, sir.
or comments?
Can the city, one of the things that you talk about is that the conformance of the proposed use to the comprehensive plan and other adopted plans and policies. The comprehensive plan envisions residential neighborhood for this area. Can you expand on that a little bit? Can you kind of enlighten us on what the thoughts are for that, or
I think
behind it?
I think what I was referring to is our when we did the new comprehensive plan, we have these stripped out corridors around the city, and we sort of collapsed the size of these, and a lot of areas corridors that are currently may even have some commercial zoning in them have been identified as areas that could be residential in the future.
Okay.
And some of that away from the railroad track on the south side of 35th Street are such areas.
Yeah, I know there's apartments back in there, and then housing to the west of that. Okay.
Yeah, and just let me expand on that just a little bit here. I want to pull up what our comp plan actually has in that area. I mean, I know, obviously, since this is still fresh on the commission's mind, the comp plan, there was a land use map that was adopted with that comp plan. And I'm looking at this real quick. So on 35th Street, essentially everything south of 35th Street was residential land uses planned for that. Now on the north side, where the Cargo Largo building is, was more of an industrial use on that side of there. So you're kind of right on that edge there of going from industrial to residential, with the street acting as the buffer between those two uses. But again, just through our planning process that we did in that, Brian's right, we tried to kind of pull back on a lot of our commercial land uses that we had planned for in our previous plan, and to put that into more residential. So this was one of the areas that was part of that process.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't there a little retail store right there on the corner that is just opened on Saturday mornings?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't.
Because I think that that piece of property probably should be a small business, retail business. I think that that would look better than a car lot.
Yeah, and again, and that's the commission's discretion through this process. As far as the comprehensive plan goes, you know, when the comprehensive plan says we want residential there, that doesn't necessarily mean that we go in and wipe out all the businesses. It's meant to be a plan for future intended uses in there. Since we're reviewing an application this evening for a retail business, not a retail business, a used car business, but a commercial business in this area that does not match up with the comprehensive plan, that's the basis for our recommendation.
Thank you.
Do I have any other comments, questions, or motions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Billy?
in the matter of case number 18-200-06, special use permit at 13801 East 35th Street, Court South, and its request for approval of special use permit to operate a used vehicle sales business at said address. I recommend approval with the stipulations as outlined by staff.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Ready for the vote?
Oh, you're ready for it. Okay. Commissioner Ferguson,
No.
Commissioner Goldsberry,
No.
Commissioner Preston,
No.
Commissioner Reed,
No.
Commissioner Wiley,
No.
Commissioner McLean,
No.
Chairman Ashbaugh.
No. Case number 18-200-06, special use permit for 13801 East 35th Street, Court South, has been denied. Our next case is case number 18-200-05, special use permit at 10418 East Truman Road. Could the city give the report, please?
I'm trying to get this up. Hold on one second. Activation failure here. There we go. This is case 18200-05. Robert Divot requests approval of a special use permit to operate a used car sales business at 10418 East Truman Road. And looking at our vicinity map here, this is just a ways past the railroad bridge as you're going west on Truman Road past Northern, going up the hill toward Maywood area. They're on the north side at the southeast corner of Hardy Avenue and Truman Road. So this is an area, except for behind and a little bit closer to the railroad tracks, area zone C2, general commercial, and then you have some residential up on the hill to the south across Truman Road. So, surrounding uses, the property to the north is industrial. It's a metal plating operation. To the south and to the west and to the east, you have commercial usage. You have retail buildings. The applicant seeks approval of the special use permit to operate this vehicle sales on a roughly half-acre lot. Features a small two-story office building, about 1,300 square feet, with a accompanying parking lot. The applicant seeks to display a small number of vehicles there, 8 to 10, at any one time. There are 15 existing parking places in front of the building. You will be the only employee selling vehicles to both on-site customers and also via the internet. As the premises has no garage or indoor space for vehicle maintenance, that will not be conducted on this site. Planned improvements to the site will include seal and coating and restriping of the parking lot, with a fascia makeover to the building, and the installation of a security system, and just some general maintenance that needs to be done in the premises. So really quickly, we'll go through some of the pictures in the neighborhood. This is a straight-on view of the building looking across Truman Road, and they're on the north side. And this is, let's see, this is from the west, looking northeast. And this is from the other direction, looking northwest. This is the industrial building that's on that large industrial lot behind him, the metal plating company. And then there's auto repairing business that's to the east of the location. This is the underutilized commercial property south of the property across Truman Road. And this is a little bit more to the southwest. There's a car wash there, as you can see. And then this is looking west toward Hardy, down Hardy toward the heart of Maywood there. And this is the building just west of Hardy. Staff recommends approval of this application with the following conditions. All parking display areas shall be paved with an all-weather surface, concrete asphalt. Depending upon the amount of paving, a permit may be required. The existing paved surface must be resealed and properly restriped. Number 2, the ADA parking space shall be updated to reflect our current city and national standards for marking and signage. Only one ADA parking space is required, and that would have to be van accessible. All improvements shall be completed prior to a city license being approved for the business. So that concludes the presentation, and I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
I don't know if there's any questions, but can I suggest something? The next report given, it'd be given at the podium because we can't hardly hear what's said, and maybe Charlie could do the laptop and the pictures. Okay, thank you. Is there any questions of city staff? All right, let's have the applicant please come forward. And as always, please state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the commission, I'm Jim Gamble. I have an architecture firm in Independence and live at 3500 South Mize Ridge Court in Independence. And with me today is Mr. Robert McDevitt, who is the applicant, is not the owner of the building. And he is here to answer any questions that I don't properly know the answers, or to assist. But there is a demand, I think, for the economy is good and sales are better, and maybe that's the reason why you're having some cases that come before the commission. and there is a demand for automobile sales. My client, this is a modest request. The property that he has identified belongs to AZ Manufacturing Company and is the landlord and owns the property directly to the north and most of the property to the west, and in times past the property to the east. They're not here tonight, but obviously they're in favor of the project, being the landlord, and has agreed with the applicant to make the identified improvements to the property that was offered by Brian, and other improvements. The building itself has been not occupied for several years, and there'd be a cosmetic upgrade to the property and the landscaping and the paving as noted. The primary source of sales is online, and this is a place to park cars. It's a place to sell cars. Most of the business would be conducted online and sold over the internet. I would refer you to some of the comments made by the staff in their staff report for it. There's a question, is it compatible to adjacent use? And it says this would have minimum impact on the area. There's also it doesn't make demands on any of the utilities or thoroughfares. It's a modest operation. There are a total of 15 parking spaces on the property, and 2 of them are handicapped. That would be restriped for one, and 1 or 2 might be the staff, and the other would be some cars that would be displayed. There are no special plans for this site in the comprehensive plan, and as they state, and as I state, and the owner states, there seems to be a demand for this type of business in the city. It's very simple, and our presentation is simple, and we're here to answer any questions, and my applicant here, client, is here with me, and we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. The commissioners have any questions of the applicant or Mr. Gamble?
I do. Are you concerned about having such a limited space, about traffic and?
Let me state my name first. I'm Robert McDevitt, and I reside at 6443 McGee Street in Kansas City. I don't see that as being an issue because I tend to have a plan of keeping a low inventory. Like I said, in my previous experience selling cars, I've done a lot of sales on eBay and whatnot. I don't plan to have a lot of foot traffic. At the very most, I could envision myself having maybe 8 to 9 cars displayed on the lot at any time.
Right. Thank you.
What other lots are you currently operating?
Me personally, I don't operate any at this time.
Do you have plans to make it more aesthetically pleasing? This Truman Road is not the most beautiful.
Absolutely. I don't know if you're aware of the history of that building, but it's had some ups and downs. Upon approval, like I said, we're going to have the parking lot repaved. I plan on getting a contractor and seeking the permits to get the front of the building redone. We've already replaced all the broken out windows and installed the surveillance system and cleaned up some of the dead plants and trees on the property.
That's cool.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, gentlemen, you may be seated. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this case? Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to speak against this case or has questions? Okay. Seeing no one trying to gain access to the podium, I will declare the public hearing portion of this case closed and would leave the floor open for the commission to make comments or have questions or motions.
I don't see any place that the city has required any special trees or flowers or anything else, unless I'm just missing it.
I think she meant that in the form of a question.
Are you talking about just the requirement to have the landscaping in there?
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty typical with special use permits that we have, depending on the type of use and kind of what the property lends itself to. We do have landscaping requirements within the UDO, so when we are reviewing site plans at the staff level, all that stuff is required,
Okay.
so.
And there is a building there, right? Like a very small building? I didn't hear if there was any plans to use that building for anything in particular. Was there?
I mean, used car sales require a 400 square foot building at least, so unless you get variance for it, or for the site.
Okay, but we're,
And that would be your,
but I believe I read
Sales
somewhere in
floor
here,
area or whatever.
I believe I read in here somewhere that unless it was something else that I read, was that the building was having a little trouble.
Yeah, Mr. Gamble just, it's about a 1,200 square foot building with the second floor on there, so you've got the 2 floors on there for that building, which seems about right when, thinking in my mind on how, it's a smaller commercial building, but it does have some size to it, yeah. So, you had another question, what was it?
It's kind of the question I had of the previous case, is we got a building sitting on there and there's no, I don't know if they're gonna use it, if it's in good condition. I mean, it's been sitting there for a while.
Yeah, I personally have not been in it, I don't know the condition, obviously you can invite the applicant back up to discuss it, I'm assuming they've been in there, but again, it comes back to the same thing with us as the same, last case. Business license, everything gets the fire review, so they've gotta have all that stuff in there. If the building was not structurally sound, we obviously can take it unsafe or dangerous. I'm not sure if we've ever looked at this building, I would assume not, because I know a lot of buildings on the Truman Corridor, we have tagged dangerous or unsafe. This one has not come up, so I'm assuming that it's in decent shape, but at the same time, if the fire department would go in there and see something that looked so unsafe, they would let us know, and at that point, we could go in and review it. But again, as far as any building requirement, building permit, if they're not doing the improvements inside, and they're not adding the value with those permits, there's nothing that we have that's gonna trigger any improvements.
Okay. Are there any other questions of the city staff or comments or motions?
I make a motion to approve case number 18-200-05, a special use permit for 10418 East Truman Road, with recommendations for the conditions.
Okay, we have Tina moves, or is there a second? Billy seconds.
Commissioner Ferguson,
No.
Commissioner Goldsberry,
No.
Commissioner Preston,
No.
Commissioner Reed,
No.
Commissioner Wiley,
No.
Commissioner McLean,
No.
Chairman Ashball.
No. Case number 18-200-05, special use permit for 10418 East Truman Road has been denied. Our next case is case number 18-100-14, rezoning of 12041 South Cunningham Avenue, 11441 and 11443 East Truman Road. And remember, we talked about speaking at the podium, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna go up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So the text, you got the text, what did it say? Just no more, please, no more. I don't agree, but we already have some here that shouldn't be here. But some of these people have already been doing something and they're moving to a different location, so they're closing that one place and opening up another.
I think it'd be interesting to have a study done.
I was gonna suggest that we, next meeting or something.
How many cars are we really selling?
I did a plan for something.
It's drugstore. Okay. Now we'll get started. Sorry about the technical difficulties tonight. Case 18-100-14. It's a former drugstore retail building located at 1204 South Cunningham. Well, the property's actually 3 lots. There's the lot with the garage. That's 1204 South Cunningham. Then 11441 and 11443 East Truman Road, which is the parking lot and the building. Rezoning those 3 lots from I-1 industrial to C2 general commercial. So we're looking at the vicinity map here, and basically this is about a half a block west of the old hospital, west of Forest, on the south side of Truman Road. Properties around there, a lot of the properties along the corridor here are zoned industrial, with some like those across the street, C2 general commercial, and then you can see that big red area there to the southeast, which is now the innovation center and the hospital area. So around the immediate property, you have some underutilized retail properties to the north. You have a commercial building to the east, as well as the building that's right there on the southwest corner that's connected to this one, that's not part of this rezoning. And then some commercial to or industrial uses onto the west, and then residential down Cunningham. So this is looking at the building, standing in its parking lot, looking southeast at the building. This is actually 2 tenant spaces, like I mentioned before. The one at the corner, the zoning line or the property line runs through the middle of this building, and is actually, that far left side is not part of the rezoning. So. No site improvements will be required at this time. This is simply a rezoning for marketing purposes, so there isn't a buyer or leasee lined up right now. The applicant had requested a special use permit for used car sales here as well, but that application went by the wayside. Another important thing about this property right here is it has a residential component to it, which is the basement. There's actually an apartment that's actually currently leased underneath. And it's legal non-conforming now as an industrial property with that apartment. By making it C2 commercial, it actually regularize that use. It actually will become a conforming use, that basement apartment. So this is the parking lot. I pivoted to the west, and that's the parking lot that's to the west of the building. And then this is looking west down Truman Road, and you can see the old, I think there was a lumber building at one time. It's now becoming a church that's under refurbishment right now. And you can see the intersection coming straight at our location and the edge of that building there, and some other retail uses off to the northeast there. And then this is looking east back toward the hospital, toward where the water department building used to be, up there toward the traffic light. And this is the interface there between the parking lot on the west and the applicant's building, and you can see the garage structure back there that's actually part of the third lot. And then there's other residential uses on to the south there. This is the property on the east side of Cunningham, just a commercial property there. And then this is looking down Cunningham into the single-family uses that lie along that street to the south. This is the back lot, which serves as an access to that garage that serves that apartment tenant that lives in the basement of the retail structure. And here's another view of that little garage, a little better view, and the neighboring residence lying to the south. And then this is a straight-on view of both tenant spaces in that building. So staff recommends approval of this rezoning request, and I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
Does anyone have questions of Brian?
So the building is actually two separate pieces of property.
It's two buildings that have a zero lot line wall. Two different buildings, two different lots.
Around that corner piece, the zoning is gonna be changed.
Right, but the corner piece would remain the current zoning. They're not part of the application.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this case? Or, I'm sorry, the applicant. Would the applicant please come forward? And state your name and address for the record, and probably pull the microphone down a little bit there. Thank you.
My name is Cheryl Wheeler Gibson. I live at 842 Northeast Devon Drive in Lee Summit, Missouri, 64064.
Okay. Thank you. And just in your own words, just explain what you're doing here.
We want to rezone the property so that we can sell it for retail commercial use. We do have a contract on the property now, and it is
Pending?
there is a contract on
There's
the
a
property now.
contract.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, does anyone have questions of Ms. Gibson?
Says the contract that's pending, it's kind of dependent on us saying yay or nay to changing to C2. Is that correct? Is the because it's industrial, is that keeping the contract
Yes,
from going
yes,
forward?
yes, yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
Is it going to be a used car lot?
No, no.
Well, that's a good thing. Is there any other questions of Ms. Gibson here? All right, well, thank you very much. You may sit down.
Thank you for your time.
Sure. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of this case? Is there anyone here opposed or who has questions? Yes, sir. Please give your name and address. When you,
My name is Sam Wade. Address is 1216 South Cunningham Avenue, Independence, Missouri. I've been there for 40 years.
pull the microphone up just a little bit.
I
There
bet.
you go. Thank
Okay.
you.
Did you get my name?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And the address is 1216 South Cunningham Avenue, Independence, Missouri.
Thank you, sir.
My question is, I'm here to just find out for sure what the main business building off of Truman Road is gonna be for retail and no sales car lot, but what is the purpose of the property behind and the usage on that, and is there gonna be a special permit required that goes with that?
Okay. All right.
That's all.
Is that your only question? Okay,
That's my
thank you.
only
We'll,
question.
we'll see if we can get that answered for you. Do you want to take a crack at that? Would you like
So his questions is the purpose of the third lot behind. and-
whether
and-
that's going to need a special use permit back
Well-
there? Plus also, I think he wants to know what the building's going to be used for.
The special use permit for the 3 lots was dropped, so there's no special use permit on any of the 3 lots. And the purpose basically is access for the, I mean, theoretically, it would be zone commercial, so there could be a commercial use to that lot at some point. But the stated purpose is, or the functional purpose is to continued access to the rear and access to that garage for the tenant space the residential tenant space that's in the basement of that commercial building.
Do we know the purpose of the commercial building?
Well, I don't think you would know that
Who
unless she knows. Ma'am, could you come up for a second? No, please come forward and, of course, pull the microphone down. Okay, I know you said the contract's been, did they have indicated what they plan on using that building for?
Yes, their business is, as I understand it, a recreational product business where they will have things like pool tables and pinball machines, that sort of thing. They plan to use it is my understanding that they plan to use the basement apartment simply for storage.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Sir, did that answer your questions? Okay. Well, I don't see anybody else here who could ask a question or who'd be against it, since nobody else is here. So I'm going to declare the public hearing portion closed. And would like to open for commissioner comments, questions, motions. What you got?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion if we don't have any questions.
Okay, if nobody has a question, that's what I was
Go.
gonna say. I make a motion that case number 18-100-14, the rezoning of the property at 11443 East Truman Road from I-1 Industrial to C2 General Commercial be approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Tina moved.
Address is in that motion.
Did you get,
I did not, so all the properties. 1204 South Cunningham and 11441 and 11443 East Truman Road. Is that better?
Okay.
Thank you.
So Tina moved and Cindy seconded. So we're ready for the vote.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Goldsberry,
No.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Chairman Ashbaugh.
Yes. Case number 18-100-14, rezoning of 1240 South Cunningham, 11441 and 11443 East Truman Road from I-1 to C2 General Commercial has been approved. Good luck. Okay. That's the end of the cases, and I just need to know if anybody's looked at the minutes. I read through them. Okay. Unless there's objection, the minutes will stand approved as written. And we're electing officers.
And I failed to bring this to the commission's attention at our last meeting, so, and I also failed, this should have been on your agenda many months ago. We're supposed to do this in April, and we failed as a staff to get it on your agenda as April, so it will be a short term, because we'll get it back on next April. However, if you want to do it tonight, that's great. If you want another meeting to kind of sit and think who you would like to have your chair and chair members be, that's fine too.
Mr. Chair, I think we can execute on this rather straightforward. I move that the existing slate of officers as in residence be accepted and approved.
A second.
Okay, well, we want voice acclamation or sigh of relief or what?
Voice vote's fine.
That's okay.
Hey.
Everyone who agrees with that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I'm okay with it. Okay, that passes. Thank you for your trust and support. Appreciate it. Is there any, yeah, there's a little period of time. We got questions from the commissioners to the staff.
Okay, so I really don't know what I'm asking exactly, like normal, but is there a study that can be done on used car lots in Independence? Like how many? What's a good quota for a city? Like,
When is enough enough?
or how many do they really sell? I mean, just so that we had some numbers.
I can tell you how many we have.
Okay.
We've actually just, it's a little bit more than that.
I would just be
43.
So based off business licensing number, and there's a few things to remember here. We ran this today because we were curious and actually anticipated the question may come up. Can you hear me all right, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I think it likes you better. I don't know what the deal is,
My
but
voice, yeah. So the number of business licenses that we have issued in the city of Independence where used car sales are a part of the business, it's 70.
wow.
That does not include the one that was approved last month or either of the two that were on this meeting. So, but that also includes, for example, Metro Florida, Cable Dahmer, all those places who have new and used vehicles. But they are. I mean, that's part of their business. So, we kind of were discussing that today, and there's really no way to differentiate between those types of businesses depending on, the sales volume they do or the quality that they do. However, those are the numbers. A few things to remember with that is there are a few lots, and by few I want to say it's under 5 in Independence, where you have 2 business licenses for the same lot. So essentially 2 businesses have gone in on one lot and are conducting businesses independently of each other. So there's not necessarily 70 used car lots in the community. There's probably less than that, but still it's 65. Yeah.
But, and in that case, it could be the people selling the cars and the people financing the cars.
Yeah, and
I mean, I wonder what the average interest rate is,
and I
you
don't
know?
know any of that stuff. We've not dug that deep at all. So we got the number today. I was even somewhat surprised by it, but.
Well, I just wonder if there's not something that we could do, or you could do, I mean, as a city, that would kind of look deeper into it, you know, like on the operations side, you know, what is, I don't know, sometimes I just drive by some of these used cars and I'm not convinced they're selling. I mean, you know what I mean? Or maybe there's a separation in if they're doing online versus, I don't really know exactly, but it feels like maybe if the city had something, some structure for us to go by, it would be easier to say enough is enough.
And I can say, and I don't know if this answers your question, but as far as the internet sales portion of it go, I briefly just verified most of these by going on Google and doing Street View real quick and seeing what came up and what didn't. And most of them have cars with window stickers in them, so you know that they're selling. Now again, you've heard pretty much on every single special use permit application that we've had for used vehicle sales that a lot of them get their internet or their business off the internet, and I think that's becoming somewhat of the norm. So
Yeah.
they're able to conduct their business, putting the sales out there, and then sometimes, depending on the vehicle, you may have people coming from as far away as 3, 4, 5 hours to purchase these vehicles. So.
Commissioner Wiley made a pointed statement or question relative to interest rates. And while, of course, I would think the preponderance of these operations deal in an ethical manner, I know factually that there are some that are parasites in terms of interest rates and or, in fact, are a detriment to the community and the citizens here.
Yeah,
So we really do need to take a look at the number of car lots, or used car lots.
And it's something I think we have a few community partners that we can work with. You'll recall when we took a look at the short-term loan and we dropped that number allowed significantly. CSL, Community Service League, and Doug Cowan was very involved in that process because they had clients who were getting upside down in some of those loans. And we kind of championed with them to look at this and figure out what that is. So I'm not sure. I could talk to Doug and see if we have something similar on these or if he has any information on that. But at the very least, yeah, we can definitely look into it and see.
And why they're coming here, coming here.
Yeah, I think we all have our opinions on why that may be. I think one of the reasons is we have a lot of vacant commercial buildings, and they're probably in somewhat of a poorer condition in some areas, plus the land, the building, and everything comes a little bit cheaper as well. So that may be something that's attractive, but that's something that the city's trying to work on to make better through our code enforcement that we've done, with our comp plan, with the strategic plan. We're looking at hoping to clean up some of these corridors and put a little bit of investment and value back into them.
Okay. It would be helpful to
But
have
enough is enough.
legs to stand on,
Yeah.
rather than just saying we don't like them, or we feel like we have enough. I mean, I don't know.
So we do follow up and make sure that when they do get their permits and everything and their property, that they're supposed to do everything, they are followed up on and they are.
Yeah, for example, in the business
standard to do it, right?
Yeah, business licensing side of things, and I can think there's been a few where the lots are very small and they're trying to operate these businesses on, and then the vehicles start spilling onto grass portions of the lots. They start spilling out onto the right of way and stuff like that. Thankfully, this community is very vigilant. We've always been informed of that almost immediately when that happens, and we're out there letting them know, hey, you can't do this, you've got to cut back, and they typically do. So yeah, we keep up on them, but again, we also don't have staff that's out there driving around all the time trying to find these, so we're really reliant on citizens complaining about the issues, but that seems to happen.
Well, that's my concern, that they fix everything they said they're gonna fix to get their permit. That's, you know, and their use, that's everything
Yeah, we've had a follow-up with another one recently too, where the special use permit was approved by both the commission and the council with conditions, and those conditions still haven't been met, so we're working with that person to get those conditions met. So our staff's pretty good at keeping up on those things and making sure that stuff's all adhered by. we haven't, we've had a few, I'm trying to think, there's one I know in particular that we've had to take care of, and I'd have to follow up and look into the case on whatever happened with that one and what our code staff did with that. But I haven't heard anything about it, so I would assume that everything went good on that one. But we've had a few complaints since that process was adopted that have come in, and I think for the most part, we've been able to work with the company in getting that resolved.
Can I ask one question, since I'm new and don't know this? So when we don't approve something, what happens to the case?
It goes, so you're a recommending body, that recommendation goes to council as part of a council packet, similar to your commission packets. They get packets as well too, plus they'll actually have an adopting ordinance with all the information on it. So the commission is supposed to be the public hearing body. The council only will have public hearings on these items if there's new information that was not available at this meeting. Other than that, they're reliant on you to have the public hearing, get the public feedback, and make a recommendation to them.
Got
and
it.
they take all those facts and make their decision.
Okay.
So just refresh my memory again, special use permits, were the council's final say, or were the final
Yes,
say?
council's final say on those.
Okay.
Home business.
Home business.
Home business permits are the one that the commission is the final say on. However, there's one stipulation in there that if there is a legal protest done by neighbors, that you are then just a recommending body and that goes to council.
Okay.
But that, few and far between that.
The council, if the council turns them down, when and can they, and if so, how long would it take them to reapply?
I'd have to look. I don't know on that. I know typically you'll see, he's asking if council denies the application, is there a set amount of time that they have before they can reapply in the ordinance? Let me look real quick. I think there may be on that.
Well, the point is, that, are they going to keep coming back and reapplying and keep improving their offer over and over again until finally, why are you saying no? Because like we've been told before, we have to have a good reason to say no, legally.
Our good reasoning is it's the prerogative of this commission and its individual commissioners to make a subjective decision
Based on the comprehensive plan.
based on a comprehensive plan.
Yeah, it says,
And yet,
the code actually says, following denial of a special use permit, no new application for the same or substantially the same amendment may be accepted within 1 year of the date of denial.
Okay.
So 1 year, and that's what I thought was.
Okay, that makes me happier. All right, anybody else got any complaints? Okay, well, thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. We are going to stand adjourned at 7:13 p.m.